Hello, welcome back to the letter. I feel like utter shit. And I'm still gonna record. Why? I don't know. Let's just continue this. Maybe because I'm stubborn to continue. Alright, we're Marianne, aren't we? It isn't often that I think about drinking on the job, but after meeting with the right yesterday, really makes me want to break myself and post rules. Because, first off, fucking damn whiskey was fucking damn Mr. Right. Oh, she learned already. And to top it all off, they had somehow forgotten to inform me that they didn't own the Ermengarde mansion yet when they hired me. Yep. But what sort of person does that?
Ugh, rich people.
Yes, rich people do that. I could do nothing but twiddle with my thumbs at this hour, twiddle my thumbs and wait for the go signal. It's not like I can accept other smaller projects. This is a big job and I should be ready to start on it at any time. Not to mention that my PA practically begged me to be patient and wait this out. It was a hard decision to agree, but I did so in the end. Besides, I'm doing this for the Ermengarde mansion, not for anything or anyone else. I'd have a headache for whatever I do anyway. I go to the pub again, but seeing what happened a few days ago, I'd rather not end up in bed with another potential client. And it might be a huge leap in logic, but a library is the next best thing after the pub. I have to go there anyway. I need more books for Dad. Plus, I also need to return the ones I borrowed last time. Finding a new book or two to read for myself while I have nothing to do isn't such a bad idea either. So on a Saturday morning, I find myself going to the only library in Luxburn to hopefully cool off. After returning an Erzuli and a poetry book by Henry of Brady. As the librarian about the several titles on my list, though I don't have much luck on that front. Dialogue with Death has already been snatched, and she bluntly says she did not keep our mathematical universe for someone who didn't return books on time. Make headway, at least, when I ask about Caesar's rendition of Havana by Jacob de Tezula. If you count her smiling and pointing at the history section as headway, that is. The history section is devoid of any other except myself and a redhead, though I'd make sure I guess that Red's just passing by to get to the classical literature section. So many books all the time. Scanning the books and seeing so many wonderful titles gives me great pleasure. And that's when I spot it.
Hello, sailor. Why don't you come to Mama?
It's not the naval battle book I was looking for. No, it's even better. And the newly acquired History of Luxburn Architecture, first edition too. I know I just have to get it. I've been waiting to get my hands on the book for so long. The fact that there's only one copy proves to be a problem, though, when Red reaches out for it, at the same time I do.
I think I had this first, miss.
Oh. I can only stare her down when she refuses to let go of the book. Refusing to let go of it as well, I raise a brow at her in the hopes that the fact that I was significantly taller than her would intimidate the girl. Even then, she refused with a rebellious look.
This isn't exactly light reading, miss. I mean, do you even know which architect was at the forefront of 18th century Irish architecture?
A beat. She blinks and I can't help but smirk on my face. It just wiped off when she opens her mouth.
Edward Lovett Pierce, who established the Palladian style through his work with Castletown House and the Irish Houses of Parliament. This bridge was destroyed in this year to delay French troops while under the regency of Mary of Guise.
She knows her stuff, apparently. This is not what I was expecting. Let's be honest, how many people would know these history facts? Aside from me, anyway.
Going right to the obscure ones, aren't you? Easy enough. Tullybody Old Bridge in Clackmannanshire, Scotland, on the January of 1560, if we want to be specific.
Suddenly it's a game where we throw these history questions and facts at each other, back and forth in hushed tones, unless we want to be thrown out of the library. For a while it goes from some strange competition to this strange, but friendly banter, if it could be called that. But as fun as it is, the exchange soon slows down until we're grinning at how odd this whole scene is.
Marianne McCulloch, my desire for potatoes doesn't quite match what the stereotypes suggest.
Rebecca Gales, the Scots' supposed hatred for the English wasn't enough to stop me from teaching their little spawns.
Right, oh right, she's a teacher. By then, we had forgotten about our little tug-of-war, although she still holds the book in her hands. I let go of it without realizing when she answered my first
History
question.
teacher, then?
Got it in one.
No wonder you gave me a run for my money. Now, if we're talking about architecture, I'd blow you out of the water. You're from where? Luxburn Uni?
Oh no, just St. Goretti's.
Ah, yes, Saint Coretti. You'd think the school would choose a more appropriate saint to name themselves after, especially when they have very young students.
And I'm guessing you're an architect, if you're so confident about the subject.
Interior designer, Miss Gales.
Please, just call me Rebecca. You aren't one of my students, are you?
Marianne, then.
I could have said that I was an architect, but there's no point in explaining why I wasn't one anymore.
So, I've never seen you before. I'd like to think I've met every history aficionado in town.
I blame the rock I've been hiding under, of course. That, and I'm usually only here on the weekdays if time allows. Work often has me meeting clients on the weekends.
That must be interesting work.
It allows for some creative freedom, sure, but it's like working with children sometimes. Though you probably have it harder working with actual children. The hardest part is convincing them that your idea is their idea.
That sounds exciting.
It is!
But isn't that true for any workplace, though? We just cross our fingers and hope there aren't any man-children in charge of important things. Any big projects right now? I can't imagine that interior designing is a frequent thing.
I'm working on the Ermengarde mansion. Lucky me. That mansion. Intach. Wonderful. Breathtaking. I can't wait to start in it. Now that is beautiful architecture.
Pause. Looks like she wants to say something to the mention in the house. I'm not surprised. The place is certainly popular with the locals, especially with the urban legends attached to it. In the next second, though, she seemed to think better of it and drops what she's about to say.
So, do you have a portfolio or anything I can take a look at? I'd love to see your designs. Maybe you have some on a tablet. I've met some designers before, and they're always going crazy over these virtual room apps or another.
A tablet? Please. Callicrates didn't need those silly eye tabs when he built the Parthenon. I certainly don't need one to design a house.
The computer back at my place is all I have. Why should I buy such an expensive gadget that will just get outdated within the year when what I have is just as functional? The traditional ways had a far more personal touch, in my opinion, not to mention those smartphones are awful tools of procrastination. Can't even count on one hand the number of people I see going outside only to have their eyes glued to the things. And fuck touchscreens. They're evil things that make typing what should have been a simpler task harder.
I do have an online portfolio if you'd like. I can...
Speaking or thinking of the devil seems to have summoned Davy because before I can even carry on, Rebecca's attention wanes as she pulls out her mobile. From what I can only assume is a call, she gives me an apologetic look before standing up and excusing herself. Off farther into the aisles she goes for some privacy. I do my best to give it to her as well as trying to tune her out.
Belle, is something wrong? Lunch at the coffee house? Sure, I can make it. I'm not too far. I can be there in 10.
Well, without quietly surrounding us, she can't blame me if I overhear snippets of her conversation. When she returns with a sheepish look on her face, I know that our friendly chat has to be cut short.
Sorry, I have to go and meet with some friends.
It's fine. Totally fine. No need to even apologize.
About the book.
Her embarrassment increases twofold when she realizes she's still holding on to a history of Luxburn architecture. I don't give her time to think about it as I put a hand to shake my head, fishing out a pen and paper from my bag, along with one of my business cards. I hand them over to her.
You know, I'm busy with work, so I might not even be able to take a peek at it anytime soon. You can go ahead and have it. But you'll have to ring me up when you're returning it just so I can snag it right away. Deal?
Makes quick work, pinning her number down and handing it back to me with a grin.
Deal. Just message me during school hours, of course. You have a good day then.
You too.
With Rebecca gone, I'm left alone, standing in the history section. Although my original plans were simple to sit down and read a good book, our little pop quiz, if you could call it that, made the time pass by without any of us realizing it. It was fun, and I do believe I made a new friend. Good job, Marianne. Even with the talk of lunch hour, I don't feel like grabbing a bite to eat. There are still other books to read here. I'm hoping to find something that will help me while I work on with rights. Something like how to deal with I'll deal with those professionally 101 just in case. I've dealt with a lot of uppity, snooty, and rich clients before, but it's still better to be safe than sorry. Because Luke Wright just takes the fucking cake, and he probably manages to eat it too. It seems the world is conspiring to keep me from my me time as my mobile vibrates in my pockets the moment I find something from the shelves of the classic literature section.
Marianne McCulloch, Charlie Rose Design speaking.
Rose Cooper here, Miss McCullough. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time or anything, but I just wanted to check in and tell you that we've got the clear to hand over the documents. Madam Wright told us that we should forward the floor plans to you.
Already? How did they go through the process so fast? Surely there was so many red tape to even acquire the forms and the transferring of rights. No matter how rich the rights are, it shouldn't be this quick, right?
So, if I can just have your email, I'll be sending them your way.
I'd actually like a physical copy of the floor plans.
Oh, I suppose that's fine. I'm not at the office right now, but I can inform Miss Santos of your request.
I'll make sure to drop by the office after lunch if that's fine.
Not a problem. Right. Well, cheers.
Right, cheers.
I don't know, I just don't. Is there some sort of deeper miscommunication when we last met? These things take time. It's been, what, a day? Less than that even. There isn't even a point in trying to make sense of these people who seem to be larger than life. As it looks like I'm on the clock starting today, I might as well eat. Grabbing some fish and chips from one of the street food stalls, I found a table to spend time with a copy of Marquez de Sade's The Crime I Love, since Rebecca left with the book I wanted. I read this one before, along with the rest of his works. This would be the 18th time, in fact. Okay. But it's always nice to read through it again when I don't have the time to enjoy something new. Besides, when you're dealing with people so filthy rich that they just end up plain filthy, you need the good old Marquez's sound advice.
La blessure se trouvant sans aucune sorte de conséquence.
Something about blessings and consequences. The wound being without any consequence. Okay, I had one word correct. Of course, it's folly to think that things have no consequence when everything actually does. Briar Realty Corporation's Luxburn branch isn't too far off from the city center, just a few blocks away, and I can easily eat and walk. I'd rather use this time to rest before I go into a flurry of activity. No doubt there'll be so much to do once we get hands-on with the mansion.
Still a lot better than working on another condo, at least.
Really, no matter how much BRC and the old owners put into the restoration and preservation of the place, any big repairs would be superficial at most. I'm quite certain that in their haste to sell the property, they did a rush job. It isn't an infrequent thing to do, despite how it is frowned upon. There's a lot of hidden issues that I'll need to weed out, and I had to make sure I find every single one of them, especially the more serious damages. Structural integrity is definitely on top of the list we will have to consider. The buildings might look sturdy, but it is centuries old. That alone will likely pose a few problems here and there, with limitations on what we can do. Besides, despite how much I detest these rich snobs, they can pay you rather handsomely, so long as I do an excellent job and do more than necessary. Those two things have always made sure the referrals keep coming. I don't even have to hunt down projects for myself. When I go up to BRC's office, I can't help but stop and stare when I enter the building. With the lunch hour closing, employees should have been back already if they still aren't filtering through the doors. I get that it's a Saturday, that people will probably feel tired and lazy and to be working on a weekend. But they're still on the clock and not bumming around about wasting company time on extended lunch breaks and cigarette sessions. The office is spacious, as it is with these big corporations. Each person is given the little space of what's usually a 2x2 meter cubicle. There's a lot more empty chairs than there are actual people working at their desk. It reminds me far too much of my last day at Porizkova Projects during the massive layoffs due to the Irish economic crisis. But it isn't just that, though. Everything is as quiet as a grave. It's as if these people are merely ghosts. Hi. Speaking of ghosts, Santos comes in through the door looking as if she'd just seen one. She looks at me wide-eyed like a deer caught in headlights, ready to bolt in any moment. I'd ask out of concern, but I feel it's not my position to do so. What if it's something personal? I'd simply be overstepping my boundaries. Really, it's none of my business.
I presume that Miss Cooper told you why I'm here, Miss Santos?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just got back from lunch, you know? But it won't take too long. Don't worry.
Of course it won't. This whole project has established itself to be a matter done in haste. I do hope it doesn't mean that people are being careless in their duties.
She flinches and looks like she doesn't quite know how to respond to that. Thankfully, instead of opening her mouth, she leads the way towards her station and goes to fish the floor plans. It won't take too long, as she said, but it does take a bit time spent to compose herself, most likely.
You know, we usually just email these things.
I prefer the real thing.
Not that you would know. Your behavior knows stuck in front of a smartphone when you're not working, and even when you should be working, play those mindless addictive games. I definitely wish Chris would stop playing the bat cat thingy during work hours too.
I know what you mean. Digital painting is nice, but nothing beats the smell of real paint. Not that I go and smell paint like a crazy person, but, you know, the real thing is different.
Wait, what?
Yes, nothing is quite like the real thing.
Check out the floor plans. I see that I have a lot going for me, and now that I know how Ray felt when he found the Central Park West building floor plans from that one movie. This is why I became an architect in the first place. Jacobean style at its finest is a thing of beauty. Look at these gorgeous rooms, a delicate harmony between empty spaces. And speaking of empty spaces, there's something rather odd about these ones.
I feel a bit silly saying it out loud because I've never lived in a big house, let alone a mansion. But during the tour, I had the distinct impression that the rooms were bigger. Maybe the scale is wrong? It's not much of a problem. And it is an old house.
There have been little details here and there that I would have liked to address during the open house too, but it was all forgotten in the wake of Miss Santos' incident and the trouble with ownership. The wine cellar is going to be a problem. I shudder to think of what sort of repairs they did to the place. There might have been things that were slipped under the rug, pushed to the dark corner of the rooms, and hidden away in barrels. Water damage could have been covered up. There have been floods due to heavy rains in West England just last year, after all, and if there are any sort of damage to the house foundation, that's going to be a lot of work. I was not able to look at the attic as well. For all I know, a whole family of vermin could have made their nest there. Working with pest control is always the worst. The sheer size of this place is staggering. Even if I did just say it was a lot smaller than I thought. I might just be biting off more than I could chew, but who doesn't like a good challenge? First things first, I'll have to.
So, do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent.
There's really no need. I'm sure you have rules against it.
Rules against bringing someone coffee? That's ridiculous, and even if there were regulations against it, nobody's really here to tell Sir John. I've already brought 2 mugs, and I'm not going to drink them on my own. Come on.
I have to stamp down my annoyance at being distracted. Seeing the girl, the young woman, though, it looks like she's a lot in her mind. If babbling is her way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. How should I respond? Joey. You have something to say? I don't. You know, you have something to say? Yeah. Yes, that works well. I give her time to speak up, but when she just stares, I clear my throat.
Yes? You have something to say?
As embarrassment creeps up on her face, I snatch one of the coffees from her and take a sip. Too hot.
Just thinking and speaking off the record, it must be fun what you do. You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
Didn't expect to hear such a question from her, seeing how well she handled herself yesterday. I didn't doubt then why she was assigned to an important sale like the Ermengarde mansion, despite the little accident she had. Now she just looks too young, too nervous, and unsure of herself, although her enthusiasm must make up for that in spades. In fact, I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself the way she is at the moment. When watching her now, she looks like she should still be in college. acts a bit like it too, when I think about it. I thought she was a teen slumming it out in the mansion when I first saw her there lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise, she turned out to be one of the estate agents handling the property.
The clients usually support artists of their own choice. If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet, here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Maybe I took that a bit too far. She bites her cheek and it looks like she's barely holding herself back.
It's not like I had a choice.
She mutters that under her breath. I barely even hear it. But the hurt is there, and it makes one wonder what brought it on. Although it is understandable, if her reasons what I think it is, very few people make it big in the art world. You can see why she'd be upset about it with that enthusiasm. I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment. The recession and the toll it took in the construction industry was out of anyone's control. I don't know what choice she wasn't able to make, whether it was about her being at art school or something else. But the world isn't a fair place, and the sooner she accepts it, the better. Still, with that forlorn look on her face, I cannot but sigh. The girl reminds me far too much of myself when I was younger.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
Oh, it's not... I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh. I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it. The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about. If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
It's not that simple.
It's not? Life's simple. People just like to make it complex. Speaking off the record, I have some advice for you, kid. Either go for what you want, or stop thinking about it when you have something else. That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable, then by all means.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Would you have left me alone?
We'll never know now, will we?
A strained air settles in the room afterwards. It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave as she has said, lingering awkwardly by the door with that downcast expression. It's clear that there's more she means to say, perhaps even to defend herself on her choices in life. Or she expected me to dish out more of that advice. It's an awkward affair, and I choose to hightail out of the realty office as quick as I can. Though I am able to keep myself professional at all times does not mean I like it. And seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I realized it, I chose to head back to my flat instead, despite today being Saturday. No fun, but at least this way I can definitely avoid being another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I will be seeing whiskey in the near foreseeable future, I have a feeling I need all the rest the weekend can give me. For the first time in a long while, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. And that's where we will leave this video of the letter. Hope you enjoyed this despite me feeling like shit the whole time. And, subscribe, check out other videos I've done, and see you next time if anyone is watching this. Because probably, most likely, no one's watching this. And that's just depressing me. Anyway, bye.